Welcome everyone to another episode of Consciousness Rising Zimbabwe and Beyond, and we are here today with another episode. This is your host Antonella Bargione, and today with me I have Lawrence Ngorora, and thank you, Lawrence, for coming and joining us. Yes.
Thank you very much. Morning, everyone.
So Lawrence is in South Africa, is Zimbabwean by birth, then I moved to South Africa, and is into organizational development and leadership facilitator. He works mainly with family constellation and systemic constellation, but on a personal level is working with self-inquiry when he coaches people one-on-one. And so today what we want to ask you, Lawrence, and let's start with that, is we are at the moment in a situation worldwide, not only in Zimbabwe or in South Africa, it's worldwide, where people are feeling quite lost. I know that 2020 is a year for us to go really deep down into self-inquiry and to move on and to let go of really lots of stuff. It's been like that for everyone. I don't think there's one who make it without being affected. So what's your take on self-inquiry?
I could start off by saying that a lot of our, call them issues, or things that happen to us seem to be such that we tend to want to remove them, to get rid of them. If I've got a headache, I want to get tablets to get rid of the headache. If I've got a stomach ache, the same, I'll look for medication to remove it. But there's also another approach, which is to really ask what this ailment is bringing to the body or to the self. So in that instance, one might have a chance as if to look at the headache as if it's a child that has visited you and you're sitting with it and having a small conversation in the form of asking deep questions. For example, there's an automatic understanding that my head is aching, so I have a headache. And it's as if that headache is mine. But if one was to ask questions like to whom that head is aching, and not necessarily wait for a verbal answer, and simply work with the instance of the body that can assist in the relief or release of that ailment in the body. So there are various questions that one can utilize in that process of analyzing something, because for some people it is said that the moment we start analyzing an issue, categorizing an issue, labeling an issue, those are the moments when the pain actually intensifies. But when you stand back and give space for that to be on its own and try to assess as to what it is that the ailment is bringing as messages, or is it come to assist the person in some way or other, that can be more helpful.
Yeah, that's absolutely. I know there is, in Italy, we have a doctor. Now she's been radiated by the doctors because she was considered too hoo-hoo. But she was actually curing people, listening to them and the words that they were using it. So, and she would call, I listened to the patientes, like if it was a language. So by the way a person describes a pain, how is it? Is it sharp? Is it soft? Is it wide? Is it intense? Is it subtle? She could help them actually to get in contact with what the pain and the emotional pain and the emotional suffering underneath. and the situation was. So it's so true what you say. Totally agree with that.
Yeah, so when you mention that, there's one thing about mental mindfulness, but then there's also a sense of not necessarily working on the mind, but the space in which the mind is appearing. So that kind of broadens the space in which to look at the issue. So rather than, as they say, rather than go with the senses. In other words, when something arises in the body, we tend then to do what the feeling is telling us to do. Like if I need to scratch my hand, then I start scratching it because I've got a sensation where I'm scratching.
Yeah.
If I have a headache, then I need to go and buy medication to remove the headache because that's what almost like our senses are trained to do. But there's also another way of simply stopping doing those things and almost like be a gaze at what is happening. But it's not as easy as it sounds when you're speaking it. But it's one way of actually working with such issues. Like last night, I had this blowing toothache, and I didn't have any medication, but simply sitting with it through the process of its pain and watching what's happening to the body, that kind of assists in the situation. But it's not as simple as I'm saying.
Okay. So what did you do?
Well, like I said, I bring in these questions like, where is the pain coming from? Like, is there a source from which this pain is coming? Can I go to that place within my body and find that source? Normally, there's no source. They're just coming from, call it emptiness. And then to whom is this happening? So there's this thing of saying it's happening to me. But can I find something within my body that is called me? Can I go in my body and pull out something that is called me and put it here in front of me? Most likely I won't see something like that. And then there's the confusion of the body, this physical body, as being that which I call me. But there is a misidentification because I cannot be my body because I can see my body. I cannot see something that I am. If, like the screen in front of me, I can see it, so I cannot be the screen. The walls around me, I can see them, I cannot be the walls around me. The same thing happens to the body. I'm not the physical body because I can see the physical body. I can also not be my thoughts because I can see my thoughts. I can also not be my senses because I can see my senses. So then the question is, who am I? And from that moment, when you start asking that question, who am I? That kind of brings about a certain sensation with the body. And if you stay with that sensation, that kind of drives away the other issues and you remain with that sensation. But it's an ongoing practice. You don't do it one night and then tomorrow it's working out. It's something that is a process that takes a while to get. Because for the past however years, if I'm 30 years now, for the past 30 years, I've been believing that I'm my body. But in this instance, all of a sudden you're changing from that belief into something new. So it takes a while to adjust to this new way of looking.
Yeah, it's pretty revolutionary talking that way. For many people, it's so foreign as well. It is.
Yeah, okay.
but it's true. I mean, I totally agree. And so, you were talking about mental health as at the moment something that is really coming up strongly.
Yes. Well, we can look at from way back that we've been having a lot of different issues. One can look at the history of our being in our country, like from where we started off with colonization. There were wars, there have been droughts, there have been famines, there have been all these diseases, choleras and COVIDs and all that. And for most people, these things have just been trapped in the body, and we don't necessarily have processes that kind of release what has happened to the body. So with COVID, it's almost like you have an opportunity to work backwards rather than forwards. In other words, instead of looking at what's happening, shall I say, in front of the eyes, from the direction in which the eyes are looking. Okay. Instead of working in that direction, we work backwards into the being, into the body. So if one is confined, for example, with this social distancing, there's no more contacts, which means you don't necessarily have time to spend with other people and let your senses travel out into the world. It's more like the senses are traveling inside the self. Mm-hmm. And with that sort of situation, you start meeting a lot of things that have been lying dormant, which have not been attended to. So a few people have been assuming they've got a COVID illness or ailment, whatever I call it. And yet sometimes it's simply that you are now aware of more of the unconscious stuff that were in the body, which are now being activated because you have nothing else to do but to be aware of the body. So the body will start giving you a message that you have not attended to the kidney for a long time. Maybe start having a kidney problem or kidney pain, and then maybe stomach ache, and then from there maybe headache, and then from there maybe some chronic issues that have been going on silently can now be heard because you cannot, you simply are sitting in one place and not doing much. You can listen to video, listen to music, look at videos and so on, but there are times when those things are no longer as effective, so you take time off, but you have nowhere to go but to remain in your own room. So if you lie down to sleep, you sleep, but when sleep is finished, there's nothing else happening. So you're left with you and your body sort of situation. And those things start making themselves aware. So yes, with those kind of things, yeah, those things start happening. So that also implies that for some people, if they were prone to depression and they've been, say, avoiding by drinking or by smoking or by doing another substance alleviation mechanisms, those are not working because those substances are no longer available. So they have to pay attention to whatever it is that could have been causing depression. So mental health can be something that becomes quite an issue this time around.
Yeah, it is. For many people, they're freaking out. Even if we don't want to call it mental health, yes, they're freaking out. Many people are really, they're going out of their way, and there's so much not understanding. And this fear to stay still.
That's, yeah.
Because we are so much in the doing all the time that,
yes.
And we never stop because we don't want to feel.
That's true, but also that our minds are so active that we listen to the mind and we follow what the mind is telling us to do. Like if I'm sitting here and it takes a while to not be doing something, so in a moment I might think I need to make myself a cup of coffee or a cup of tea. And then I walk to the teapot, I make the tea, I come, I sit down, I drink, and then immediately there's something that says, look at the phone. I take my phone, I browse through the messages, and stuff is not happening. Then if I've got data, then I'll go on internet, I start reading news, what's happening in US, what's happening in, but if one was to ask themselves, for example, what was I thinking at 8 o'clock this morning? We are not able to catch what that was. But I could be reading volumes and volumes of news. But what's happening to me, I wouldn't know what exactly is happening to me. So it's as if COVID is saying, can you give a moment and pay attention to your own body and find out who the hell you are as the self? There's some people who say our reason for us being on this planet Earth is to find out that thing that says I I am walking, I am going, I am eating. That which says I, what is it? And for us to discover that, that's the purpose of our life. That's what some people say. I don't know if it's true or not, but it's worth considering.
You also work with the family constellation.
Yes, that's true.
And both family and systemic constellations. Both of them.
Yeah, that's very true, yes.
So can you tell us, our listeners, a bit about, let us know more about family constellation, because of all the instrument, tools, practices which I have done over many years, family constellation for sure is one that touched my heart deeply, and to the point that I'm becoming I am a trainee at the moment. So how can we make our listeners knowing more about the family constellation?
Well, one, I think it would be best to start off by saying it's a transgenerational, it's a modality that is used to work with transgenerational issues. However, most transgenerational issues are quite hidden. They're not on the surface. So we don't know whether we are carrying issues from our great-great-grandfather, great-great-grandmother, or grandmother, or stuff like that. So it's only when one has got issues that they've gone to hospital, they've got to various therapies, but they're not getting any help out of it. It can be in the form of an illness, it can be in the form of a pattern of behavior, it can be a condition in life of, for example, why is it that I'm always alone and not be able to attract a partner into my life? And with constellation, there's an understanding that as long as you don't have a good relationship with mother, that can be a pattern that that one faces. But there are also things like how to relate to the lineages from our parents, their parents, their parents, going backwards that way. And also through genetics, things have been passed on from them to the present moment. So there's no selection as to what arrives at me from those behind me. So if my father and mother are behind me, behind them there's my grandfather and my grandmother on the mother's side and father's side, and the chain goes backwards in a broad kind of sort of way. And all those behind me have sent stuff that comes through love, if you could call it, up to this that is called me today. And within that, what is also transferred are issues that have been affecting those people. If they've been in famine situations or say drought situations, if they've been in war situations, if they've been if there's been a murderer or they've perpetrated in some form, or they've been victim to something in their life, they might not have been able to process that stuff as a traumatic experience in that moment. So it's trapped in their body and it's passed on to the next generation. And family systems constellations attempts to assist individuals to access that hidden information. And in some cases, that information simply needs to be seen. That a great-grandmother was left with 8 children to look after when the husband had gone to war. And there was then a flood that wipes away 3 children, leaving her alone with 5 children. So to contain all that traumatic experience, it might not be possible for the body to contain all that trauma. So it closes off some of this stuff. And is passed on as a closed parcel to the next person, who is the son or the daughter, who then passes on to the daughter and child and son and so on. So we have an understanding that those who are slightly further away from the trauma are the ones who can now be able to access the trauma and work with it. So yeah, so how it works is that normally we have a group of individuals who form, so a group of individuals come together in forming a circle, and one person among them can say, oh, I've noticed that whenever I apply for a job, I get the job, but immediately I want to throw the job away. I'm wanting to look for another job already within the first few months already. And I've noticed that it has happened 4 or 5 times in my life. And I'm wondering what is that all about. So we do what we call an interview, where the facilitator will ask a few questions like, was there miscarriage from the mother of the same siblings with the child? I mean, with the client? Or was there children who died in the same family, but no one has acknowledged that? Or did the mother grow up in a situation where she was a lone child, or maybe her parents died when she was young, stuff like that. Accumulating that sort of information helps then to create a sense of where the trauma situation could be coming from within the family system. And then out of that system, the client is asked to choose people within the circle to stand in for these elements that are arising from the interview. And then out of the movements that happen, you're able to identify where the entanglement is, and probably able to resolve or to put light on where issues are arising from. There's also a tendency for a child, or for us as children, when we come into the system, we are sort of very fresh in the system, the family. So because of that freshness, we are able to pick up that which everyone else has managed to block away from themselves. Those who are grown up have already developed systems to block things from affecting them. That leaves a lot of unattended issues, which children are happy to take on because that helps them to belong. And that gives them a sense of loyalty to be part of this group of people they call their family. So when they're holding on to something, whether it's good or bad, that helps them feel a sense, oh, I belong here. And out of that, some of those issues can actually be a burden that then becomes an issue of development in life. But personally, I look at it as that burden is not necessarily a burden as a burden, but it's actually a gift that helps a person to ask the relevant questions that help them identify who they truly are.
Okay. So we go, well, in the end, we go back to self-inquiry.
Yes.
But the good thing is that in the meantime, though, we free the genealogic tree. By doing ourselves the work, we cut these chains or these ripples that keep on going.
Yes.
Which is
true, yes.
Very helpful. So can this system also be used on a national healing level? Because we have spoken about individual families. Can be used on a national healing, for national healing?
That can be utilized, yes, but then it's difficult to easily see the results. So because you don't immediately see the results, you then say it's not working. But community constellations are also a way of working with groups of individuals who have got issues that are affecting the community. And organizations also, there are some people who are fired from their job or a company that is taken over in a very rough and demeaning, degrading ways. And those people who are affected can still have an impact on the organization when the company is established. And then you start having problems within the company where there can be issues of bullying, issues of insubordination, issues of betrayal and all that. And if one really wants to look, there can be issues that can be traced back to the ownership of the company if it's a family business, or if the takeover was not done in a proper way, with some people chased away, with not getting their wages and stuff like that. Those things affect the running of the organization and the company. So systems constellation can be quite useful in that regard.
Okay, so what you have just said brings me to ask you another question. So in countries where there is issues of legacy from colonialism and or slavery, so how those relations then transform? Let's say slavery is finished, colonialism is finished, but many things have happened during those periods. So how those relationships transform in a current situation? Because the reason why I'm asking this question is that I know that there are lots of people in their 30s, 40s, even late 20s at the moment, who are really starting to search, and they don't understand what's happening around them. They don't understand why things are the way they are. And they're asking really lots of questions. It's like for the first time, it's like the eyes are opening and say, why is it like that? And there's so much anger as well.
Actually, it's good when people are asking questions rather than when they're silent and suffering internally. The only issue, of course, is whether the remedies are within reach. But one should understand that those people who left Europe, for instance, or the Arab Peninsula or India to come to the African continent, some of them were living, were running away from war or desperate situations. They were not coming on holiday. There are very few who came here just for holiday and loved it and then stayed. A lot of them were looking for sanctuary, a place to find, a place to run away from either repression or droughts and famine situations, or difficult family situations and all that which goes along with it. So they come into South America or North America or Africa or Australia, and they establish themselves. But what we don't realize is that they came with what they were running away from. And that is not visible to them in this generation, but is what they then pass on to their children. And then the third or fourth generation is now able to sense what their grandparents were running away from, and can ask questions because they're now able to connect, or like you are saying, the connection is not clear. It's in a form of disturbance of, why am I so young and yet I don't have a job? Or my life should be this, but it's not like that. Why is it like that? Or I recently had 5 relationships, whether with a boy or with a girl, but why is it that I never have a binding relationship? All my relationships are always falling away. But it's not everyone. Some are actually having good relationships and so on, but to a greater number of people, there are a lot of some people doing bad things to them, betrayal and all that. And when one starts asking those questions, if they're doing constellations that can assist them to trace and identify whether there is something in the family that can be used to explain that. But it's not to say that constellation resolves everything or offers solutions to everything. At least a lot of issues are able to be given some light, and the person can be able to work further with an enlightened situation. So that's where the constellation is very helpful. But what I'm aware of is that with illnesses, for instance, where an illness can come into the family or to the person's life as a way to alleviate or to assist in inverted commas, assist the person with certain patterns that are not balanced. And you might find that an illness is almost like something that comes in to accompany the person when, even though it is as if the person is ill, but actually it's helping with something that is more difficult. So constellation is able to unravel that and give a person some sense of idea of what's happening. And with that, they're able to rework their life. Yes.
So it's like the illness bring like a spotlight on something that was hidden before.
Yes, yes. You can say that, yes.
Okay. Yeah,
either the spotlight, or it can be the fire under someone's butt to make you jump to be able to see what's happening around you. If you've been sleepy with so many issues and yet you've been crying foul and stuff like that, or things are not working for me, an illness can be a shock sort of from the natural world to say, hey, wake up, look around you. The world is a good place. Why should you be crappy all the time, kind of thing.
Yeah, absolutely. What would you like to add?
Well, I think I'd like to add the use of these modalities, because so many of I will use the word our people, are more inclined to religion to solve issues, which is not a bad thing. And yet, it can also be used as a way of repressing, running away from solving the real issues. So we can use religion to close off our sensitivities or our ability to see the troubles in the family, because we don't have the skill and tools to walk towards the issue and work with it. So the best is close it off and work in an enlightened way, if one could call it. But there are tools of energy healing that you are aware of, that you also use yourself. And there are also these stuff like the family constellations, emotional freedom techniques, and all those kind of things that work as an alternative way to our so-called practices of, we are so used to be using only the hospital and probably that only. And yet there are all these other ways of working with issues that are quite useful and helpful.
Yes, I'm also, yeah, like you say, like it happens with family constellation, many of them works also because they see what's not being visible. You have access,
Yes.
you have different keys to access those things that you can't see with your eyes. So
definitely.
Yeah, maybe it would be also nice to, for those people in Zimbabwe who don't know yet, there is this service for people who have like depression. Depression is another big one. Actually, if you have something to say about depression, I would be really grateful on a family constellation point of view. But there is this service that it's been offered, which is called the Friendship Bench. So even for people who are living in the communities or high density areas or don't have, or don't have enough finances, there are people who have been trained to listen to other people talking. And also what I know is that in Shona there is no, the word, the way they've translated depression is kufungisisa, which is means thinking too much, when your mind goes over and over on. And it's beautiful. So if some people need also this service is widely available in Zimbabwe now, and it's working really well. It's really working well.
Yes, and that I would say there's that, as you're saying, and at a personal level, we don't necessarily have the capacity to ask what is depressed. We go into the depression and stay there. But if we were to take a step back and really ask what is depressed, who is depressed, where are those thoughts coming from? Is there a place where they are originating that makes it a person fungisisa or generate so many thoughts? Just that alone, if a question is repeatedly asked, why is it so interesting to do that? Why is it so appealing to be having this headache or having this depression? We could get to a place where, with guidance, we could get to a place where you can actually look at this depression more like you do with if you are in a field, for example, you want to plow the field. There are big stones in the field. Sometimes you plow around the stone can stay there in that field for as long as the field is there, and the stone will not disturb the growing of crops. It's just there. So you can also have the same thing of looking at depression and seeing it with this big stone and not touch on the stone. And life can go on without necessarily hindering or making life difficult. So there's this thing of jumping onto the thoughts and traveling with the thoughts, because from the moment it becomes a sense of I'm depressed, then, oh my God, I'm going to die. Oh my God, there are so many things that then add more thoughts and add more thoughts and add more thoughts. Then it becomes a bigger and bigger thing. Whereas just looking at it, or if the skill is there, because just looking at it alone cannot help. There will be need for, like you are saying, sitting with someone who you can talk to. And if that is not, if that is there, that's good and well. But there's also this thing which is almost like an easy way of doing it, because it's not financially demanding. However, it's not easy on the body, because one really has got to be disciplined to remain with one question in their mind and keeping on asking that question. And as that question is working the body, there is release and relief that comes with it. But of course, it needs a guided person to be working with someone for a few times, and then for the rest of their life, they're just doing that process on themselves.
Okay. So, Lawrence, thank you very much. I think for today, there is enough to digest for people, especially on this possibility of self-inquiring and asking themselves. Because, for example, even myself now, I'm gonna finish with you, and I'm gonna do it because I came back home and I was so angry, and I say, "What is it? What is it?" So I'm gonna practice. Okay. I'm gonna practice.
So with such a situation, we look at why is it so appealing to be angry? Why is it so appealing?
Oh, because I want to be right. I want to be right.
Okay. Yeah, but the thing is, you don't need to give an answer.
Yeah.
You sit and listen to the body. When you say I want to be right, it's the mind providing an answer. But in this case, we want to allow the mind to sit in the heart, as they say. So the heart is almost like sensed by the body and not necessarily by the mind. So asking that question, why is it so appealing to have this headache, can be a starting point, and ask it several times. And then from there, you could go on to what is the picture that keeps coming back. Because sometimes you've got this image or a pattern of stuff that keeps on throwing itself at you. So by asking that, what is the picture that keeps coming back, can also be something that is helpful. But probably the most indicative would be, to whom is this happening? This headache. Whose headache is it? I'm not saying that the headache is your sister's or your brother's or your grandfather's or whatever. It's happening in this body, but the identity here is that there's something that has confused the body with what they are. So finding that is important by asking, to whom is this happening? And then there's also a question about who is it who is deriving so much identity or attachment to the headache. Mm-hmm. And just sitting with these questions can actually be something to work with. If they are given times, like say you give 15 minutes each for each question, or 30 minutes, or even for some issues, it can be one question the whole day. Okay. So it varies with individuals, yeah.
Okay. So if people want to get in contact with you, shall I put your phone number in the description of the video?
Yes, you can.
Okay, so then you can reach Lawrence with your question on how to ask questions, or maybe to have some help if it's needed. And hopefully,
if you can add my email address.
Yes, I will do that. I know it. I'll do it. And also, okay, we hope you can be in Zimbabwe very soon if things with lockdown and all the rest start to change. So maybe you can have a training live then. Yeah.
Yeah.
So, Lawrence, thank you very much. Thank you for all the good work you're doing in the world. I really appreciate. And I know that your heart is really 100% there.
Thank you very much for this opportunity.
You're welcome. To all the listeners,
okay, yes.
if you like the video, if you like the conversation, please share it. And we are now also on Instagram. So we are on Instagram, Facebook, and YouTube. So please follow us and spread the word if the message reaches your heart. Bye, everyone. To the next. Thank you, Lawrence, once again. Bye.
Yes. Okay.